Welcome and good evening to all the attendees who are present at the moment. I'm sure there'll be more people joining in, but let's start at the earliest without wasting much time. So welcome back to our very own Learning Weekend series. If you remember, we were one of the pioneers in the Learning Weekend series when we started webinars on some of the most interesting learning topics in line with the vision of the core HRIR group, because we wanted everyone in the HR community to learn and grow within the HR function. So the name remains the same, but we have added a new dimension. We have converted the webinar into a workshop series, and this is the first inline in the same series. So today's topic is how to lead remote and hybrid teams effectively and reduce attrition. With the way the pandemic has shaped up and it has impacted the way the organizations work, I'm sure almost 80% of the organizations these days are working remotely, as well as some of them are working from home, some of them are working from office. But then remote working is so common these days. But before we actually kickstart the session, for the benefit of professionals who have joined us for the first time, I would like to give a small introduction about the core HRIR group. Let me try and share this screen. Just once again, where I try to pick up the PPT here. And please do mention in the comment section if you do not hear, you're not able to hear us properly, or if you're not able to view the PPT properly. And I would request all the attendees to keep themselves on mute. If you have any feedback or anything to say, please use the chat window. Okay, so let's kickstart. We are one of the very few HR groups, non-profit HR groups, which was formed back in January 2017. And right now, as we talk, we are a community of more than 5,000 HR leaders, CHROs, and some of the leading HR minds from Indian organizations, as well as Fortune 500 companies. The group was formed in line with a vision to become an internationally renowned group. And our focus always has been on sharing futuristic HR strategies, sharing knowledge, sharing some of the latest best practices, discussing the latest trends, discussing possible solution to certain case problems, etc. And we are very close, though the journey is long, but still we are very close to achieving our dream of being the most sought after professional platform for sharing and networking. So as I mentioned already, we were formed in January 2017. We have come up with multiple initiatives, and I'll just touch upon the different initiatives that we have. We have a WhatsApp group of HR professionals wherein we discuss some of the most, we have multiple discussions going on latest updates, best practices, feasible solutions, etc. Learning Weekend, I've already spoken about it. We have just changed it to the workshop mode, and it's going to be a very interactive and a highly knowledgeable platform. And our next series of initiatives is the Chai Buddy series. Though with the pandemic being there for past almost a year and a half, we have made it virtual as well. So we are in line with the technology. We have conducted 3 virtual HR conclaves during the last 2 years. We also have created a core HRIR. We've created an extended arm of the group in Bangalore, in Pune. We have one in APAC. We have APAC for the uninitiated is the Asia Pacific region. We have one in Lucknow. We came up with the Shining HR Award, which was specifically designed for the young HR professionals whose ideas, when implemented in their respective organizations, had made a huge difference. All right. We have also collaborated with HRCI, which is an HR body from US, based out of US. We did that in 2019, and the collaboration has been very successful till now. So just a note for anyone aspiring to be a certified HRCI certified HR professional, HRCI has removed the global experience requirement to allow HR practitioners to experience and learn while engaging in cross-border HR practices. Additionally, the GPHR exam content outline has been updated to reflect a streamlined format and content. We also started up with Core Connect, where the main activity was brainstorming on the trending topics, and the findings, some of the best findings were published on the social media platforms. We have a career center, which is an AI enabled platform, and it is very well operational and functional right now. We are getting resumes as well as JDs and requirements from organizations almost on a daily basis. We can proudly say that American Express is one of the lists, one of the companies on our lists who have approached us for finding the right talent through us. So we are globally, we are getting recognized globally already. We did come up with core research. It is not that active right now, but again, the main fundamental behind coming up with core research initiative was to work on some of the areas where which would impact the future of work. It would have a huge impact on HR and developing any further competencies for HRBP opportunities, etc. So we probably will be taking it up further as we go by, but as of now it's slightly on the back burner. We started with Candid Conversation series, and the main idea behind the Candid Conversation series was to think from the CEO's perspective, enable the HR professionals to think from the CEO's perspective so that HR is able to understand the business more closely. I would just let the screen stay still on this particular slide, because this is an important information for anybody who wants to have a global HR career. The options for certification are APHRI, PHRI, SPHRI, and GPHR. So I would encourage anybody who's planning to upskill and get an accreditation through HRCI, may please go through the website. All right, so coming to the main topic of today, our topic is how to lead remote and hybrid teams effectively and reduce attrition. I would only touch upon the topic in two statements. Everyone has been feeling the impact. I mean, especially the HR professionals have been feeling the impact of remote working, where there's a lot of attrition and employees are considering opportunities simply because they don't have to move out of their houses. And of course, working from a remote location or working from home on a constant basis does seep in some dissatisfaction. Visible? I don't see that happening right now.
It's visible.
It is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to welcome Archana, who is the CEO for We Lead. She has a total experience of over 20 years. She's been leading multicultural, diverse, and global hybrid teams. And she's also trained ICF certified Marshall Goldsmith and CGC executive and team coach. She is an specifically executive leadership and team coach and mentor. And she has also done a lot of research on resilient and self-directing teams, emotional intelligence, cultural transformation, and she's led a lot of projects involving these aspects. She is one of the top 100 global thought leaders list that is curated by an institution called People Hum. and she's been coaching, mentoring the leadership layer and teams since the past 8 years. Just one liner about myself. With a little over 14 years of experience, I have worked across mature as well as startup organizations. I have a generalist profile wherein I have managed everything from hire to post-retire. The domains that I work across is IT, TES, and professional services. And the companies that I worked with are the Smart Cube, Hydrogen Structures, Media Networks, and Public Corporation. Thanks for being such a patient listener. This is a free workshop session that we had. I would invite Archana to go ahead and share this. Yes. All right, I guess we're good to go. So I would invite Archana to go ahead and take over the session. I'll stop my screen sharing so that Archana can go ahead and share the screen. Welcome, Archana.
Thank you, Kashish. Hello, everybody. Really glad to meet each one of you. And I'm impressed with the profile and the work that Core HRIR is doing. I mean, right from learning to growing to application, a tremendous amount of work. So really appreciate the efforts and hope the community is benefiting from the work that you all do. I was also impressed with your partnership with HRCI. So that gives a global orientation to the entire forum. So well done. Good work on the whole initiatives that you all have taken. And thanks for that generous introduction. And like Kashish said, let us make this more as a workshop, an interactive session. I want to learn from each one of you, hear what your pain points are, as much as share whatever I have learned over the years. So the agenda really is to share my experience around top reasons why talent leaves, the drivers for team success. I have led multinational, multicultural teams on very large platforms, led strategic initiatives, and also as a executive team and leadership coach, come across multiple pain points from different organizations, different industries, mainly IT, health sector. So I can share with you what are the drivers of team success, what helps the companies retain talent. And I'll also be sharing something about the critical factors for building resilient organizations. So these were some of the thoughts that I had. And I think this is a very timely topic. Like Kashish mentioned, we all are working remotely, some of them hybrid, some of them a mix, a different workplace design. So I think it is important to know what works and what doesn't, so we don't do the same mistakes that others have done. So that's the thought process behind putting this workshop together. Now, before we watch any performance, what do we normally do? Imagine you're going to a movie. What do? You get some popcorn, keep your phone on the silent mode, you adjust your seats so that you can make the most out of the performance. Well, this is not a performance, but to benefit the most out of this session, let us begin a small centering exercise just to gather ourselves and bring us back to the present moment. So I will request you all to firstly protect your time from all this time of 1 hour from all distractions, because really it's about you. It's about you gaining and making the most out of this event. So put aside your to-do list, both physically and also mentally, because sometimes you're physically at a particular place, but mentally our mental processes run around what I have to do next. So let's gather ourselves and bring us back to the present moment with this small centering exercise. So let's, sit upright if it's okay with you, wherever you're sitting or standing, and gently try to focus your attention on your breath, with your back straight and on your breath. So we'll do a small exercise on focusing on the breath to bring us to this present moment in the now. So I'll guide you through some short breaths, and then we can deep dive into the session. So sit upright, back straight. You can close your eyes or soft gaze at a particular object. So take a couple of deep breaths to allow yourself to relax. And now what we do is take some deep breaths, focusing on the breath, counting the breath. For example, we would do an inhalation and then an exhalation and count 1. We do an inhalation and exhalation and count 2. Inhalation and exhalation and count 3. So this is counting the breath. They would feel the breath and they would sense the breath. So let's begin. A deep inhalation with your belly filled, ribs broadened, and collarbone upright. Exhale, collarbone down, ribs contracted, belly in. 1. Inhalation, belly filled, ribs expanded, collarbone upright. Exhalation, collarbone down, ribs contracted, belly in. 1 more time. Inhalation with the belly full, expanding your ribs, collarbone upright. Exhalation, collarbone down, ribs contracted, belly in. So we've done this 3 times. Now let us just feel the breath, the air going inside your nostrils, wherever you feel the breath, whether it's your belly, the nostrils, your rib cage, feeling the breath inside your body. Bringing your awareness to the breath. How does it feel? The air going inside, warm, hot, pleasant. Now let's sense the breath in the entire body. The feeling of being alive, being together in this forum. Just relax yourself for 10 more seconds. Gather yourself, bring your awareness to this moment. Set an intention. As you gather yourself, set an intention to be open and curious. The best learnings often happen when we have a beginner's mindset. Now, sometimes we just need to hear the right thing at the right time. We know so many things, but we don't do it because it is not on top of mind. But if we give ourselves permission, the space to listen more fully, it brings new insights, new ideas that we can go ahead and implement. So with that in mind, you can gently open your eyes and think of, why did you want to attend this workshop? What really got you here? What do you really want from this workshop? There must be something on top of mind, not because Core HRIR is doing something or because Archana Shetty is speaking. There's something on top of mind for you. So what is it that attracted you for this workshop? Why are you here? So knowing that, take a few more deep breaths and come back to the room. You can open your eyes, you're closed, or come back to the room. So you can now write in the chat, what problem would you like to solve having attended this workshop? What's top of mind for you? I told you I am a tough teacher. I will not teach, but I will engage with you. So I'm curious, what is it that got you to the workshop? You can write in the chat so we can save time. And Kashish, if you can read out a couple of comments, what has been put in the chat? What is it that got you to the workshop? I've gone through some of the challenges that many of you have actually shared with me during in the registration form, but I'm curious, What is it that got you here? Attrition. What else? Creating employee experiences.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Experience traction, which retains remote employees.
Talent changing. This is a big one. Yeah. Often. Yeah, great. So thanks for sharing that. Now, wouldn't you all agree that COVID-19 has forced organizations to transform almost overnight and overturn long-held assumptions about how we work, where we work, and the tools that we use to get work done. Almost overnight, many of the companies thought of how do we digitally transform ourselves so that we don't go out of business. They had to invent new ways of working, with whom they work, with whom to partner, and what tools to use. It has also actually forced us to reflect on ourselves. What is important for me? What really matters for me? Does this hold true for you guys? Did the pandemic help you reflect on what really matters for you as a person, as an individual? Leave aside the organization, but did it transform you to a certain level? If so, mention in the chat, how did it transform you? What have you learned about yourself or your relationship to work? Anything that has surprised you about yourself? Yeah, build human relationships. Yeah, what else? What else did you learn about yourself during the pandemic? I learned that my husband and me worked together very well as a team in the kitchen. Before the pandemic, I was cooking and he was eating. Now he does as much cooking as I do. We have learned to work together as a team in many aspects. We are more careful about our health, about our fitness regimes, about our morning rituals. Well, I used to do it, but he was not so much. So many things has changed in our personal and professional lives. And let me share with you that leaders themselves were surprised to learn that people often work as productively from home as an office setting. And this was one of the very surprising findings for many leaders, because many believe that to be productive, you have to be in the office, which turned wrong for many people. What has also interestingly happened is people are looking differently at work. It has changed how we relate to work and lives, really about life. Our priorities have shifted. I often think, did it really take a pandemic of this severity to help us realize what is important for us? In the busyness of life, somewhere down the line, life and work, we have forgotten what really matters. Let me share with you a story. This is one of my clients. So Melissa was working in California as a middle school teacher, and in a field and in a job that she really, really liked. Yes, during the pandemic, what she's come to know and ultimately what she did was she left teaching to work in an industrial design company in a beauty firm. Her priorities shifted, and I'll tell you later on why she did that. But this was all what has happened during the pandemic. Priorities shifted. People started looking inwards and what is really, really important for me, my family, my work life. I'll share the screen now. I have a couple of slides to run through. Kashish, can I share the screen?
Yes, please. You're the co-host. You'll be able to.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes. Yes, we can see.
Thank you. So this is the agenda for today. And then what I did during the pandemic was I did a research. I wanted to understand what is really going on, in the minds of the leaders and employees. So I surveyed around 500 executives. I did extensive interviews with 140 global leaders from Middle East, from Asia, from Europe, and few from America. So with this research, what I found was that 29% stated decline in well-being. So there was overall a severe decline in well-being, and this included stress, anxiety, workplace burnout, and many things related to well-being. And 27% experienced leader ineffectiveness. So this was a testing time for leaders actually, who run teams, who run groups of people, who run departments, who run divisions, who lead companies. And 27% expressed their ineffectiveness and were not able to take the toxic work culture. So this was overall my finding. Leader ineffectiveness, burnout, and decline in mental well-being was one of the major themes, a pattern that I could clearly see in the data that I had collected. And another layer of complexity, what added to this whole thing, besides the pandemic, was the remote and the hybrid work, because suddenly companies had to move remote, some of them had to move hybrid. So with all that, it added to the complexity. Now I wanted to validate my findings with some of the other research. And here are some of the voices, actually, these are the words that came out from the people. Before I go into the research, let me share what people told me. So one of them said, I'm going to go somewhere where I'm valued. Look at the words that they're using. I'm going to go somewhere where I'm valued. The pandemic ripped that veil from my eyes. My concerns weren't being addressed or being heard. This was from my client, which I earlier shared. Another leader told me, an employee told me that leaders are extremely task-driven and relationship is becoming very, very transactional. So people were feeling that the relationship is only transactional. People don't care about me. At the same time, there were leaders who were managing teams, had one question in mind: how to keep the morale of the team high when things are not so bright, because you don't know, there's so much of uncertainty, there's so much of ambiguity. So how do you keep the morale high was the question on top of mind of many leaders. And many were not sure how to handle the emotional trauma and insecurities in the team. So these were real voices from people. This is real data. So I wanted to validate my research with some of the research from top publications. So I went to Harvard, I went to MIT Sloan Reviews, I found out, and also World Economic Forum, to find out what is going on. Are my findings correlated with what they are finding? And not surprisingly, it was true. Top things that came out was burnout. Burnout was one of the top reasons. Around 50 to 60% of the people felt burnout. And it is especially true for millennials, women, and frontline workers. They experience very high level of burnouts, maybe because of the overzeal, over-enthusiasm, commitment to work, and many other reasons what led to burnout. Burnout is not only because of work overload, but many other factors. So there were mental health issues, and because of which personal relationships broke down. And it also impacted the organizations. And another thing, that a theme that was running through, was people felt disconnected. So this is a big one. People felt disconnected. 46% of the people in their research, they found they were disconnected with the company. And another common theme which came out in my work as well was the work culture. People were not able to relate to the work culture. There was toxicity. There was not harmony in the group. They went because they had to. So these were the broad themes that came out during my research and also in the secondary research that I did. So now how do we relate all these findings of the pandemic to the present day? What does it mean? That comes to the topic of attrition. Now, many economists call this time as the Great Resignation drive. This time is going to be a time of great resignation. Microsoft, as well as Personio, an HR company from the Europe, and many other consulting firms in the US have done deep research. I did not do the research, but this was research, secondary research, data that has been collected from top firms. And what they found, that 41 to 50% of the people are considering quitting or changing professions. This was for the reasons that we explored before. They feel disconnected from the workplace. Culture is not a place where they want to work in, and severe cases of burnout and mental health issues. And what does this mean for companies? The cost is extremely high. When there is attrition, you lose not only millions in lost productivity, the cost of onboarding, as you all know, being in HR is very high. It takes 6 to 9 months for someone to be fully effective. Moreover, institutional knowledge is hard won and difficult to transmit in a short period of time when you have to quickly onboard everybody. Moreover, there's decreased loyalty within the teams, when you have to go and find somebody else. Showing loyalty to employees is likely to increase their own level of commitment to the organization. So the cost of attrition is extremely high for organizations. So this brings about an interesting challenge for both organizations and people. On one hand, burnout is one of the primary causes for employees, when they're considering moving. Employees are taking decisions based on how employers treated them during the pandemic. Toxic work culture is another reason, and disengagement. And then there are other reasons like, for example, having better benefits, promotion, raise. These are the normal things why people leave companies. People have also realized, have done some reflection, and there's a major shift in priorities. And it is not only about money now. It was some time back, but it is not now. Actually, there's never been, money is not the only driving factor when it comes to retaining employees, even before, but now it has come to the forefront. And when during the survey, one of them they asked people if they will be willing to take a pay cut to work for a company that has a healthy culture and is aligned with the values across the board. People said yes. So this means something. So people need a better work-life balance, connection, and meaningful work. This is what that has come out from the pandemic. So this is on one hand, people need a better work-life balance, connection, and meaningful work, a culture where they can flourish. So on one side, you have the people need. And on the other side, there's an organization need. Organization needs are to adapt to change quickly because so many things have been changing so rapidly. Companies had to transform, had to design new strategies, have to adapt to new technologies. So companies had to quickly adapt digitization for one, and there are many other pivots that companies had to do. Otherwise, they would be out of business. So in this fast changing world, and to be ahead of the game, you can't rely on the same systems, on the same processes, on the same tools that got you here. You have to be agile and swiftly change your mode of working. You got to be more agile and adapt to change quickly. So this is an interesting challenge, balancing people needs on one side and organization needs on the other. Now, Gary Hamel, he's a thought leader in this sphere of work. He says, to be agile, bureaucracy has to be eliminated. Embrace a more agile way of working in order to thrive in the days ahead. And actually leaders who did well, in my own research, I found that leaders who did well during these challenging times not only adapted to the technology and embraced technology, but also were good at envisioning and driving change through people. Even MIT's research say that digital transformation is less of a tech problem and more of a leadership problem. Now, I would like to show a graph to you, which indicates, can you see the graph? Yeah. So this is a graph which indicates, in economics, there's a theory of, you can't beat a person and get the maximum performance. This is a graph which shows the link between pressure and performance. So it has to be somewhere between, you're not bored, it has to be something stretch, but not overload. Because when it goes to overload, that is one of the reasons for burnout. So optimal performance is in between boredom and burnout. So you have to find the sweet spot. I just wanted to share this graph because it says so much, especially what happened during the pandemic. And this was developed way back in 1908 by two psychologists. And they wanted to show the relationship between pressure and performance. What happened during the pandemic was people were taken to the extreme, either willingly, voluntarily, or by the organizations. And burnout, one of the main reasons is, increase in workload. Well, there are 5 other factors, but increase in workload was one of the reasons which led to burnout during the pandemic. So balancing these needs of both the organization and people requires a very, very high level of collaborative work. And how do you do collaborative work is by increasing trust, increasing the resilience of people, bonding, and then having the agility to be able to pivot quickly. So these are the needs. This is how you balance both people needs and organization needs. Now, I wanted to talk, I did a lot of thinking around what has to happen to balance these needs. And I wanted to share, a model that I have developed. What happened historically was organizations have focused on project and people performance, but largely ignored the people performance was counted, but largely ignored the well-being components, especially the inner well-being and the interpersonal well-being. Interpersonal well-being is well-being in a team. So we ignored the inner well-being and interpersonal well-being. But the data is clear. Well-doing is largely dependent on well-being. We cannot, I stress this, we cannot afford to ignore this well-being component in self and in teams. There is increasingly high amount of research that effective change can only be achieved if the well-being of the change makers, or whoever the change makers are, your employees, your social workers, the teams. When the employees don't feel safe and secure, you cannot achieve much in your work. There is a high level of interdependency between well-being and well-doing. And this gave rise to the model that I have developed, which I call it as a collaborative leadership model. It addresses the burning need of the organization to deliver at speed, to adapt to changing technologies, changing new ways of working, and its people, where they're joyful, energized, and not burnt out. I recognize that how a company treats its people will determine the course of its growth. I repeat, how a company treats its people will determine the course of its growth. And when I say people, it's not only performance, it's well-being and the interpersonal well-being. You have to treat people with care and compassion. Human-centered collaborative leadership is becoming increasingly important. People are not machines, and people cannot work like machines. Allow the human being to come to work. This is the basis on which I developed the collaborative leadership model. Now I would like to run a small visualization exercise with you. So, visualize or imagine a time when you were able to play together as one team. And imagine a time when it was complex and challenging. But you were able to get the most out of your team, whether it is in sports, performance, or wherever it is. But beyond yourself, you were working together as a team. It was a challenging time. It was a complex thing. The situations were not so good, but you were able to play together. How did it feel for you? You can imagine a sport event, or you could imagine a performance, wherever where you had some work together, where you had done some work together as a team. And if you could go to menti.com and use the code 69896816 to enter one word about how it felt when you were able to work as one with one shared goal in a challenging and a complex time. How did it feel? And then maybe we'll share the results. So menti.com, use the code 69896816. I'll give you 1 minute to go to that place, enter the code and enter the word. And then we'll share the results. Kashish, would you be able to share the results in a minute?
Yes, I'm looking at it. So it's transitioning and Arshana, would you be kind enough to just message me the link as a personal message, and I can share it. So the link that you shared earlier isn't, I mean, that screen is not working.
Okay, let me take a snapshot and I will. I'll share the screen. Just a minute. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So this is how people felt, when you were able to work together as one team, this connectedness, people felt motivated, exciting, confident, there was synergy. So these are all the feelings when you work together as one team. So now we will, sorry, somebody speaking?
I was just saying we have 63 participants, and it could have probably livened up or made this entire exercise a little more exciting had there been a little more presentation. So probably next time I would encourage everyone to participate as well.
Yeah. So now we'll do a small breakout exercise and I'll give you one question. The question is, what attributes got you? What were the attributes that helped you do that? Where you felt connected, where you felt there was excitement, where you felt confident and you worked together as one team. So what were the attributes that helped you play together as a team? So let's do a small exercise of a couple of minutes. Just Kashish, if you could break the team up into a breakout room, we could all grow into a breakout room and share with one another. And maybe at the end of the breakout room, how the breakout room would work is Kashish will divide all of you all into small groups of 4 to 6 people. You'll share internally for a couple of minutes how it felt together when you worked as a team and what qualities helped you achieve what you could achieve. And then come back and then maybe share with us what were the qualities you thought was important.
Yeah,
what were the qualities? Yeah,
I'm just creating the room. The session is going to be, the breakout rooms will be alive for 2 minutes, and then it will there'll be a pop-up asking everyone to get back. So here we go.
and when you get back, don't leave the room. Don't leave the room, not leave the meeting.
Don't leave. Yes, don't leave the meeting, leave the room. So there are roughly 6 people in each room, except the last one, which has 4 people.
So you've kept it for 2 minutes, right?
Yes, 2 minutes. Also, the poll option, Archana, unfortunately, is not working.
No worries, we can, yeah.
Because I just used another link to join in. I joined in from the main software, and hence it's not showing up. I do see that people are not joining. I would really encourage, this is also a good exercise to just know each other and also talk about the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's
right
just,
now. Yeah.
it is nothing right or wrong, but just reflecting on what attributes helped you work together as one team.
Yeah. Have you been able to join? I do see people have joined.
So I think in room number 7, there are 7 and 10, there's nobody.
Yeah. Room 8 also. There's just one person. 7, 6. Now it's showing breakout rooms not started.
Okay, you can get people back to the main room.
Okay.
Close the rooms, I guess.
Okay. I've closed it.
So are the people back?
Yes, people are back. So we have 47 participants now. People are back, yes.
Okay, good. So if anybody would like to share, you can open your mic and then speak up. What is the attribute or quality you felt that was important?
Hello, this is Abhishek Upadhyay, and I was into the room 1. So we discussed that what are those attributes. So we found that if employee is being taken care by their manager or the employer, proper care, human touch, they will be recognized properly, and they will be provided all the necessary material which is required to do their job. If the performance management is going into the right direction, then they feel engaged, they then feel involved with each other, and then they can have a good teamwork as well. And as a result, organization will get benefited. So this is what we discussed.
Sorry, what is the name?
My name is Abhishek Upadhyay. I'm from Caparo Engineering India Limited, Gurgaon, corporate office.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Upadhyay. This is one of the very important points that you have touched, the human touch, which is absolutely missing for some time. You spoke about care, you spoke about compassion, you spoke about bringing that humanness back to business, right? Somewhere down the line, we have forgotten that ultimately we are human beings, right?
And this is my personal experience, or say personal belief, that there should be human touch in human resource department. If it is not there, then it is not a human resource department. Then it is something else.
Absolutely, absolutely. It should. We are no longer resources, right? We are human beings. So treat humans like human beings, not resources. So I'll move on. So thank you for sharing. So these are some of the important. Thanks for sharing, Mr. Upadhyay. So these are some of the important things that we all know, but somewhere down the line with the business of work and life, we've forgotten to be human beings first before being human leaders. We are human beings, so treat humans like humans, not machines. And people will remember this. When you were there with people during tough times, people will remember that. There's a saying from Maya Angelou. She says, people will forget what you did for them, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this time is a testing time. In fact, pandemic was a testing time. Even the days ahead, the next few days ahead, it's going to be a testing time for you leaders, for the HR groups, how you treat people. Our job as leaders is not just to bring technology and all these fancy ways of working remote or working hybrid. These are all the processes, all the methods, how we get work done. But our job as HR and as leaders is to inspire people, to make them excited, help them, empower them, enable them so that they can do the best work which they are capable of. Show the light for them. It's even more important during this tough times. And CLM model, which I have very, very deeply worked on and give a lot of thought about based on my own research and having the research done from the leading institute, it lies at the sweet spot of AI, which is artificial intelligence, for making data-driven decisions, not biased decisions. EI, which is emotional intelligence, for human-centered leadership. And CI, which is the collective intelligence that you have as a team. This is required for agility and speed. The model is actually built for companies to be agile, so you can deliver at speed, build a collaborative culture so everybody can put in their best foot forward. And when you're empowering people, when you're enabling people to put their best foot forward, supporting them with all the resources that you think is necessary to help them do their work, you will be able to retain high quality talent. And then it is not a one and done. You get the data from the people, make data-driven decisions, not biased decisions, because at the core, we are human beings. We are prone to biases, some known and some unknown. So let the data guide you. So this model is built at the heart, at the sweet spot of AI, EI, and CI. You learn from, why I call it a CI, collective intelligence, because you learn from one another. You learn from the diversity of the group. So it's basically, the model is for high impact. So you deliver at speed. You focus on the goal. You give your team members the goal, but the path is flexible to get to that goal. So you deliver at speed without people burning out, because the model itself is built on well-being. You remember the components, inner well-being and interpersonal well-being is part of the model. So with this, you'll meet the business desires of added speed and agility that is required for faster time to market. This time you cannot wait for long-running projects. This is a time when you have to make fast decisions, quick decisions, and put your product quickly to the market. So it's the speed that counts. And how do you deliver speed? Not with bureaucracy, but with agility. When you're able to implement this model, it increases resiliency, employee engagement, and talent retention. And another important segment, another important point, this model is built on 4 M's. One is the model itself, which is a high impact model. The second is the mindset. This is where empowerment comes into place. So you don't direct the people. You empower people with the decision making. You have to embrace very different leadership mindsets and work habits. Here, data is not preserved only to you. Data is freely shared. You empower your people to make and participate in decision making, unlike your traditional ways where the leader makes the decision and imposes the decisions on the people. No, you allow your people to participate in the decision making. So, not all the decisions, but at least to a large extent. So you get the buy-in from the people when there is change. The third component of it is the method, is the processes. And the process is what I call is at the CLM drivers, collaborative leadership model drivers. And the drivers, there are 12 drivers. I don't have the time to go through all of them, but it enables people. Again, leaders lead, show the light and not chart the course. You enable your team to be self-organized, and you only balance autonomy, give them the freedom to do the work and keep them on track to the strategic mission of your company. So that's your goal as a leader. So keep the balance between autonomy and the strategic mission of the company. Another important component of this model is the metrics. I put here measurement, but an important part of measurement is not only performance. How is the team performing and what is the data telling you about your team health? But also it should guide you on where are the bottlenecks? Why are people not performing or performing well? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What needs to look into? So you make data-driven decisions. This is important because you cannot improve what you cannot measure. This is what Peter Drucker said. So we have to constantly make data-driven decisions. This is not only for performance. Performance-driven metrics is well known within the community, within all organizations. But what is not well known is how is your team health? How is your team doing with respect to the inner well-being, with respect to the interpersonal bond connections, and with respect to the alignment to the strategic mission of the company? So they're aligned to what is required to deliver at speed. So this is the collaborative leadership model. And the three pillars, I will just share what are the three pillars at a very high level. I don't have the time to go through the details, but the three pillars are alignment, inner well-being, and interpersonal bond. So with alignment, there are again 4 building blocks of alignment. So what you do is you contextualize the change, or you contextualize the direction of your team or your organization, but it has to be aligned with the strategic mission of your company. So there is alignment within your team, which is linked to your strategic goal. People are absolutely clear why they're doing what they're doing. Leaders need to contextualize the change or contextualize the direction which the company is going. The focus is on purpose. You tell them the why you're doing something, especially during these difficult times when there is a lot of ambiguity, when there's a lot of complexity. You have to explain to the people why this change is important or why this direction is important. That is where you do, that is what you do with alignment. It actually focuses on the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, and help them connect their individual goals to the organization goals. This is what we do with purpose. There are 4 building blocks in this. One is purpose, one is mattering. Mattering is what showing the team that your work matters. This is how you contribute to the larger organization and beyond. You provide support, aligning the support of your internal resources, external resources, whatever, alignment of resources, alignment of priorities. This work needs to be done, but I'll help you in every possible way to make this work possible for you. So this is alignment. The next one is inner well-being. And this is where this was the component which was largely missing in our performance metrics so far. So this again relies on 4 building blocks: workload, which is aligning the skills and the will of the employees with the work that needs to be done. Again, you remember the pressure curve. So it is giving them work which is not extreme that they're going to burn out, as well as not so boring or boring that they leave, that they go to the boredom. So it is at the sweet spot of boredom and challenging work. So this is what is workload. And then you give them candid feedback. Be candor in your feedback. Give them open feedback on what needs to improve, what they have done well. And not only you as a leader, but the team members. Remember, this is a self-organizing team. And another component is autonomy. So you give them the freedom as a team leader, as a self-organizing team. People are given the freedom to do the work that they want to do, aligned with the goal. So that's autonomy and safety. Safety is not only physical safety. Physical safety has been extremely important, which the pandemic has shown us. But besides that, the psychological safety. Dr. Amy Edmondson's research in HBR shows psychological safety has been utmost important to drive innovation and collaboration and creativity. And this is the time when people have to come up with innovative ideas, because we can't be doing the same things that we have done in the past. That goes to status quo. We have to come out of the status quo. And as a leader yourself, you can't come out with the most brilliant of ideas. You're not the smartest in the room. We become the smartest when we collect ideas, when we work together and get in diverse thoughts from across the team. So that is where you create a psychological safe environment for people to speak up, come up with ideas, not shut down their ideas or shun the thoughts or put them down when they're wanting to speak. So this is psychological safety, and this is where you get your inner well-being into, you rise the level of the inner well-being. The third component is interpersonal bonding. And this is extremely important, because what has happened during the pandemic, the data has also shown that loneliness and depression has gone to soaring heights. Why? Because the social connections are missing. We as human beings are social animals. We need that bonding. We need that community, not only at home or at our family levels, but also at work. So how do you create a sense of community? Again, there are 4 components in this. One is belonging. So I need to belong. When I'm working, I must feel that I belong to this organization. My work matters. I should feel proud that I'm doing the work why I do. There has to be a sense of connection. You value and respect my work, respect me as a human being. That's connection. And then community, develop a sense of community within the team, within the organization. And the 4th one is celebration. Appreciate and recognize the people, not only, when they're doing well. Celebration also means celebration of the behaviors, appreciating their behaviors, what behavior you particularly liked, and be specific in the behavior. Maybe the project didn't work out well. Maybe the product didn't take off. but appreciate the work that they have done, the efforts they have put in, the behaviors that really put that work forward, put that project forward. This is what celebration means. And good leaders will listen to. Put yourself in the shoes of your people. This is where empathy, emotional intelligence, communication, compassion comes into place. This is where EI, emotional intelligence, is extremely important for leaders and for the teams. And when you're able to do that, what happens is, when you're able to have a good sense of alignment, you are moving your team from chaos to clarity, because people are absolutely clear now. What are my goals? What are my organization goals? How it is communicated down the team. It is absolutely clear. The goals and objectives are, your expectations from them is clear. So this is where you move them from chaos to clarity. When they're not clear, you don't expect good work. When their inner well-being is taken care of, they don't feel frustrated, because they feel that they belong to this organization. Their work matters. The workload is optimum, so they can give their best performance. So it moves from frustration to excitement. The third part, when you're able to have that interpersonal bond, you don't feel lonely or secluded or excluded from the group. You feel that this work in this organization, I'm taken care of. And that is there when you feel the joyful, delightful experience. So when you're able to do this effectively, you move people from that segment where they feel overwhelmed, where they feel depressed, where they feel anxiety, wanting them to come to work. So create a culture where people love to work. So now if you could share with us, what happens when you're able to do all these three? You create a delightful employee experience. One of you all told us, in the beginning when I asked you what is important for you, to create an employee experience. When you're able to do this, you will create a delightful employee experience. And when you create an delightful experience, what happens? You deliver at speed. You provide a great value proposition for your customers. So these are the three pillars of a resilient organization: a delightful employee experience, speed to market, value proposition, and value proposition for companies. Remember, employees, customers, and speed. These would be the driving factors of a resilient organization. Now, let me know from you, where are you? Now, I've told you what is alignment, what is inner well-being, and what is interpersonal bond. Now, just think about it in your own organization, in your own teams, or within yourself. Where are you in that, if you have to scale? We thought of conducting a poll, but unfortunately, the poll is not working. You can put down in the chat. Where are you in the alignment spectrum from chaos to clarity? You, when I say you and your team, both. Where are you in the alignment spectrum? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, extremely low. There's chaos. People are not clear about what to be done. And clarity is, there's absolute clarity about what my organization goal is, what my team goal is, what my team is expected to do, what I'm expected to do, how I'm accountable for my work. There's absolute clarity. Anybody sharing? You can share in the chat.
We have 2 ratings, 2 people have shared, and they are okay. So now more are coming in. 88687.
Wonderful.
Another 7. Another 7.
Great. Now let's move to inner well-being. Inner well-being is about balancing the workload, optimal workload. It's about giving candid feedback. It's about autonomy at work. It's about safety, having the psychological safety to speak up, to raise new ideas. So where are you in that spectrum? You and your team in that spectrum, from frustration to excitement.
878. Okay. Can we have more inputs, please? Another 8.
Great. So now let's move on to interpersonal bonding. How are you doing in the interpersonal bonding within you and your team? Is there empathy? Is there compassion, care? Do you feel like you belong to this organization? Do you feel that your work is valued, you are valued, you're respected? Are your achievements, are your failures celebrated? Do you feel a sense of community? That is interpersonal bonding. Where are you in that
A lot of
spectrum?
8s, and then there was a 1 9, another 7, 9.
Great. So this exercise was a thought exercise to help you identify that all these components are important for you to work together as a team and achieve the level of success that you want to achieve as a team, not only as an individual contributor, as a leader, but as a team. You need to have alignment, you need to have inner well-being, you need to have interpersonal bonding, and you have to constantly check in. You have to have constant feedback and data to guide your decisions. Where is my team failing? Maybe you are feeling you're aligned, but how is the other person in the team feeling? Is he feeling aligned? Is there a mismatch? So this is important. So making data-driven decisions is extremely important. So what next? What can you do now as a result of whatever you've learned or we have discussed? One thing what I would say is know the strategy. Now, so many things have changed during the pandemic. Now, one thing is for sure, every company has to be digitally ready. You just can't ignore AI. You just can't ignore computers thinking that this is not for me or my industry. Computers are bound to be everywhere. Let them do the work, what they're doing the best. And as humans, do the work that you are good at. Automation technologies will only grow more common and more intelligent in the future. They are an important tool to augment our work. So it's important to know the strategic direction of your company. Where is your company directing? Where is your company moving towards? This is important. And also know the strategic digital direction of the company as well. So have a meeting within your team to know what humans can do best and what machines can do best. That is when you can leverage the intelligence of both your human intelligence as well as the computer AI intelligence, because the two has to coexist. So that is, number one. Number two is future ready your people. Evaluate the gaps between the roles that are now currently assigned and what needs to be done to move ahead in your company. Your company was moving in a particular direction. Maybe over the course of the pandemic, it has changed the direction, or it is planning new products or new industries and new markets. What roles you have? New direction. New direction is making people to have what roles are coming into existence, and how can you reskill, or what training or what upskilling needs to be done for your employees to fit in that roles. Role clarity, task clarity, skill clarity is absolutely critical. You need to future ready your people. Otherwise, when people fail to adapt to the new changes, they will quit. Whatever the case, you don't have to, one mistake what I've seen is you're just copying another industry or copying another company. That absolutely fails. What works for one company may not work for another company, because you may be in a different market. The strategic goal is different. Your strategic direction is different. So you have to know two things. One is the organization goal, and one is your people skills and will gap. So once you know your organization goals and your people, then you evaluate the gap. You assess where exactly you need to fit in, what things you need to do so that the puzzle can be fitted in nicely. Just because one company is doing that, a hybrid way of working, you don't have to adapt that. Does this work for your company? Does this work for your people? Is what you have to evaluate. So evaluate the gap and future ready your people. It is also called as pivoting your people. Third most important thing is build a flourishing culture. If anything we have learned during the past year of change and digital transformation is employees can be the greatest inhibitors or the greatest enablers of transformation success. So move from transactional relationship to a transformational relationships. And many of you had asked me tips on how do you create a transformational or an engaging teams, or how do you build engaging teams, whether it is remote or hybrid. So in my CLM model, I call this the 7 C's. I don't have time to go through all of them, but what I would share is the 3 C's. One is clarity in communication. There has to be absolute clarity. You can communicate, over communicate. Be clear about what is the ask, what is the priority, what is needed from them, and why. You remember the alignment pillar? This is where clarity comes into picture. Don't assume you know what people know or people know what you know. Be clear in your communications and don't jump to conclusions when somebody is not working. For example, this happens often, when you are in a meeting like this, in a Zoom meeting, and somebody is not showing up on video. You assume, many a times you assume this person is not working. Assume the best intentions. Don't judge people. Be clear, take decisions with data-driven decisions. Have an open conversation. Assume the best intent and summarize. If you have any doubts about anything, summarize what you have to say. Summarize the agreement with that particular individual, whether it's at goals or objectives, whether it's at expectations, whatever it is. The second tip, what I would like to share is around compassion in communications, in connections. So when you connect with somebody, make sure you connect with a compassionate lens. Often we come to a room meeting, thinking of, I have to get this work done. We're extremely task driven, but look at it from two lenses. One is the task, and also second is the relationship. So there are two dimensions of getting work done, of an engaging experience. One is the task, one is relationship. Often we focus on the task-driven lens and forget the lens, or wearing the lens of compassion and relationship. So don't forget that lens. Have compassion in your engagement, in your discussions with the team. Bring curiosity, and when somebody is not open to doing a certain kind of work, don't assume that they don't know or they're not good at and all that. Bring curiosity in your communications. This is where compassion and curiosity plays. Third tip, what I would like to do is celebrate. Don't forget to recognize and celebrate people. Appreciate, be very specific, not general good work done. No, good work done for what? What specifically you liked about that person or that behavior or that person's attitude. Be very clear and appreciate and recognize people. And don't make it as a yearly event when it is a performance appraisal time. Or no, you can do it at every week. Make it a habit to learn and appreciate about one person in the meeting. This can be done very easily, and everybody has the power and the knowledge to do that. So these were some of the tips, and there are many more. Time is running short, but these were some of the tips what I thought was important and which you can put into practice right away. I think we are running short of time. We have already crossed time, but I would like to conclude saying that, to stay in business in the long term, you have to make serious investments in your employees' overall well-being. Performance metrics is not enough, or just looking at project performance, people performance is not enough. You have to look at the holistic view of why people are performing or not performing, what are the strengths, how is the inner well-being and interpersonal well-being organized in your team, empower people, enable people. The data is absolutely clear. And at the same time, balancing the needs with the needs of the organization. This is absolutely critical. It's, the delicate balance between balancing the organization needs and the people needs and marrying them both together. I'm a beta testing this model now. I'm very happy to help any one of you if you want help in implementing the CLM model, so that you can build, entire tool is built on an agile methodology. So you can build in agility in the way of working and delivering something quickly, as well as retaining high quality talent. I'm gathering data now, so it will help me as well as help you make data-driven decisions and implement a human-centered collaborative leadership philosophy in your organizations. So reach out to me separately. This is my email address. I've shared my LinkedIn. If you want any help in implementing this towards a culture that is agile, collaborative, and more data-driven methodology, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to support. And so with some of the organizations which I'm working in the beta testing mode, the results are very promising. I'll be speaking at PMI Global later this year in a tech conference where I'll be presenting the case studies and the result. And if you want to be an early adopter, do reach out. I'm happy to share the model, the tool, and support with the coaching and mentoring that is required to get this work, get this implemented in your organization as well. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak and present my thoughts. Very happy with the engagement that we had here. And thank you for Core HR IR for allowing me and to share my ideas. With that, I open the floor for questions if you have any.
Thanks, Archana. Thanks so much for the insightful session and, of course, an enlightening one at that. We spoke about collaborative leaders model, and I'm sure it is left quite a bit of room for thought for the attendees. We do have some questions during the time of registrations, which we can take up if there are no direct questions coming up right now.
If anybody is having any question, they can
yeah, if anybody has any questions, please mention it in the chat window.
I always like to end my session with asking what was most valuable or insightful for you during the session, because some things resonate with some, because we all are coming from different spaces, different industries, different backgrounds. So anything that resonated most with you, valuable insights?
Abhishek Upadhyay here again. So thanks for insightful session. So if I ask me what one thing which strike me and which I will remember whole of my life, that the statement given by you that the bureaucracy is the biggest bottleneck for agility. So that is just, it's true, and we need to work and we need to see it. If you want to make your organization agile, engaged, then we need to look into that.
You know what,
Nice.
Mr. Upadhyay, what I wanted to tell you is, speed to market is absolutely important.
Yeah.
Absolutely important if you have to drive change fast.
Yeah.
And if you have to drive change fast, if your decision making is taking months together, how can you deliver something at speed?
Absolutely.
You have to disorganize. That's why I said, the CLM build comes with its own mindset. So the mindset and the work habits of the entire leaders and the team needs to change.
Yeah.
Because you're not about one person directing or one person approving. Your goal is speed to market. Goal is value proposition for the employees. You remember the three pillars. One is value proposition for the employees. The second one is employee experience. And the third one is speed. If you have to meet all of these three, you cannot have an approval process or a document review for 2 months.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Agility is the name of the game.
Yeah.
So Archana, I've reviewed the questions that came in during the registration, and almost all of them boil down to one typical question, which I can word as, how would you create trust and relationships when people are joining during remote working model and the work is measured only through outputs? This specifically focuses on new joiners, I guess, and hence it is different from the rest of the ones which we've already covered through the session.
So the question is, how do you create engagement in new joiners? Is it?
The question is, how do you create opportunities how to create trust and relationships when people are joining during remote working model and the work is measured only through outputs. So specifically focused on new joiners.
So one thing is, for new joiners, it's a challenge. One thing I would say is it's hard when teams are, half the team is remote and half the team is on site. That's not a good model to work on. A good hybrid model is when your entire team comes to work, or entire team, you do it, one team comes to work on certain days, another team comes to work on certain days. But having half the team come on certain days and half the team work at home and half the team coming to work is not a good workplace model for many scientific reasons. But so that's one thing, one aspect of how you model and design the team that has to be taken care of. And the second thing for employees, for new joiners, is you can get creative. This is where creativity comes into play. How can you create sessions where you create opportunities for the new joiners? What would you do in an on-site session? If an employee was onboarding, you would have an induction session. You would allow them to meet different people, right? So in a virtual setup, what can you do to bring that remote engagement within this remote setup? How can you set up lunch and learn with different teams? So this is where you create that intentional connection. So you have to be very, very intentional about the connections that you make in teams. extremely important, because once they feel a sense of, yeah, I belong to this workplace, you get that kind of buy-in from that new joining. But if at the outset he feels that no, nobody cares for me, though deep down you might have policies, you might have procedures, but show that care, show that compassion. Check in as a team leader. If you're the person who's managing this particular team member, check in with him, on a one-on-one level. What is it, why, what got him motivated, what is it that is exciting about this place that made him join the company. So create that personal bond. And one thing that creates trust in teams is also leaders being authentic. As a team leader, as an HR person, you got to be authentic in your communications, in the way you do your work. I mean, it's open to be vulnerable even with teams, because we all are human beings. We all commit mistakes. We all fail. So when you share a little bit of vulnerability, not for the sake of vulnerability, but genuinely how you have handled certain things, that gives them the space to open up as well. It creates a space. And then create that, I talked about psychological safety in one of the pillars. So that is how you increase trust. Ultimately, the CLM model is built to increase trust and engagement in the teams. So if you follow the principles, follow the philosophy of the CLM model, I'm sure that your trust within the teams will increase. And this is the data that I'm measuring now.
Thanks, Archana. So I believe there are no more questions around. So, and it's also beyond the schedule time that we are almost touching 8 p.m. So I think we should wrap up the session. So my heartfelt thanks to Archana for sharing such insightful concepts. Specifically the CLM pillars that we spoke about, the alignment, the inner well-being, and interpersonal bonding. I think these are going to be the core areas going forward, and the world has changed permanently for sure. The corporate world and the way we work has changed permanently for sure. So thank you so much, Archana, once again, and thank you for extending your personal time to fulfill our vision and mission, and thanks so much once again. I would also like to thank all the participants who have been very forthcoming, and they have made the session very interactive and successful. So thanks to the core HRIR team and all the people behind the scenes without whom we couldn't have made this possible. And we would like to have some feedback since this is our first workshop series, so that we can make it better for the entire HR community. And I wish everyone a fantastic Sunday ahead. Have a fantastic Sunday, Archana, and we'll connect again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do reach out to me in case you have any questions, any feedback. I'm open to feedback, as well as any ideas from you guys too. So thank you and have a good day.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.